This is The Big Picture, an official television report of the United States Army, produced for the armed forces and the American people. Now, to show you part of the big picture, here is Master Sergeant Stuart Queen.
There is today an increasing awareness among Americans that preservation of our way of life requires constant vigilance. We accept heavier military budgets as the price for that vigilance. At the same time, we can offer a greater willingness to understand the problems of our protecting services. On the personal side, too, there has been a happy development. The citizen has come to recognize the military as a cross-section of his own American neighbors. He also finds daily contributions made by the military to his community life. In turn, he has been welcoming the military man to a fuller participation in his own activities. Nowhere has this growing understanding and affection borne happier results than in the city of Alexandria, Virginia.
Georgian brick buildings and quiet tree-shaded streets, many of them built by Hessian soldiers after the Revolutionary War, give to Alexandria the imprint of history, a history that dates back as far as 1695. For its citizens of tomorrow, the latest in educational facilities recaptures the flavor of that past. Pride in history has not blurred vision. Today, the city has become a center for electronic research, a logical growth from an earlier industrial era, and an even earlier position as the agricultural market for Northern Virginia. Old Farmers Market still stands in dramatic contrast. Behind rises the modern Georgian building that houses the city's municipal offices. Old and new are never far apart. Here, George Washington recruited his first command. From its steps, made his last public appearance. The old apothecary's shop knew our first president as a customer, and an order signed by Martha Washington may still be read. The lady watched carefully over the welfare of a large family of plantation workers. Her order was for 1 gallon of castor oil. In historic Christ Church, the president worshiped, and here many presidents since have attended services. Here, too, worshipped another soldier's son in whom Alexandria takes pride, the immortal Robert E. Lee. Carlisle House marks an even earlier link between city and military. Here were organized the campaigns of the French and Indian Wars. Just outside Alexandria lie other reminders of our early years. Mount Vernon, now maintained as a national shrine, stands unchanged from the days when Washington presided over its stately mansion and well-planned acres. Mementos of our first president are preserved in the same state as when he used them. The family Bible in which he sought comfort and guidance. The desk at which he worked. Of more than passing interest is the key to the Bastille, alongside a model of that symbol of tyranny. The key was a gift from Lafayette, whose role in the French Revolution received inspiration from Washington, the good friend who carried our own revolution through to victory. The gold-handled sword and wooden-stocked pistol never failed to draw the tourist's interest. George Washington was 16 when he first came to live at Mount Vernon. Except for the interference of great circumstances, he might have had an entirely different reputation. He had wanted to become America's leading agriculturist. 2 dates with immortality prevented. First, the call to command the Continental Army. Second, to become president of the new United States. After each mission, he hurried back to the peace and beauty of Mount Vernon. But after that second call, there was little time, a mere 3 years before his death in 1799. By actual count, over 1 million visitors each year pause to pay homage before the final resting place of the father of our country. Today's Alexandria has newer ties with the military. Only a stone's throw away stands the Pentagon, that citadel where our combined forces for defense plan for the maintenance of the peace and the preservation of our way of life. Nearby is Fort Myer, part of the military district of Washington. While just south of the city lies Fort Belvoir, home of Army engineer training, research, and development. These and other installations play an impressive role in the community's life. Alexandria's population finds economic benefits from the large Army community living among them. Beyond history, tradition, and cold economics lies another tie, perhaps the strongest, the give and take of personal contact. From it, mutual understanding. To signalize this mutual interdependence and friendly understanding, Mayor Leroy S. Bendheim, before a presenting committee of military and civilians, signed a proclamation designating the week of June 9th as Alexandria Salutes the Army Week, a week in which the city would pay tribute to its military community. The moving spirit behind the project was Alexandria's Chamber of Commerce, in whose handsome new building directors' meetings traditionally open with prayer for guidance in the work before them. Within the Chamber of Commerce are to be found these representative businessmen, dedicated to making their city a happy community in which to live and work. In these objectives, their own women's division plays its important role. Popular Bob Duncan, the Chamber's president, and its business manager, Ernest Corso, briefed the membership on the campaign that must enlist support from all of Alexandria's 87,000 population. Set up by the Chamber of Commerce is a steering committee of more than 40 civilian and military leaders of the community. These include representatives of church, civic, fraternal, and veteran groups, along with officers and enlisted men from the local military installations. The steering committee is, in turn, assisted by 25 subcommittees, each with 3 to 5 members. From small items like window cards to Captain K.F. Amende's project for operating a helicopter shuttle service to Fort Belvoir, no detail is overlooked. Capable management plus enthusiasm and cooperation bring into reality the long-awaited June 9th. The streets of Alexandria are in holiday dress. Their shop fronts compete to combine attractive window display with the spirit of the program. Where possible, they present, too, reminders of the city's historic past. Appropriately, the new Army uniform is featured for men, nor is the new feminine look forgotten in my lady's shops. The hotel named for George Mason is the scene of daily luncheons given by each of Alexandria's civic groups. Here at the Kiwanis gathering, Major General John G. Van Houten, Commanding General of the Military District of Washington, is introduced as honored guest speaker. Not to be outdone in friendly hospitality, the Lions present Mayor Bendheim and General David Tully, Commanding General of Fort Belvoir. A feature of the week-long celebration is the Counterpart program, a program which brings together military and civilians engaged in similar work. In Alexandria's council chambers, Army administrators learn of the problems confronting city management. Similarly, representatives of the Provost Marshal and Judge Advocate's offices sit in on the courtroom sessions of Judge James N. Colosanto. The friendly discussions that follow promote understanding of procedures, their similarities, their differences. People rarely think of banking as a military function, yet local bank Vice President Marshall Beverly finds a guest of group finance officers interested in comparing accounting systems. Further evidence that many military functions are merely extensions of their civilian counterparts. Over at the Alexandria Hospital, a nurse finds an interested audience in Colonel Carlton D. Goodill, surgeon for the Military District of Washington, and Lieutenant John Mino, sanitary engineer of the Medical Service Corps. As happens so often in this world, there is also the happy coincidence of two old friends suddenly finding themselves brought face to face in new surroundings. Elsewhere in the hospital, there is a stimulating exchange of ideas between technicians who are well aware of Army medical contributions to radiology. A highlight of the program is a visit by city, Chamber of Commerce, and military guests to Alexandria's busy waterfront terminal. After an inspection of warehouse and docking facilities, the party boards the Canadian freighter Markland. The ship carries a cargo of newsprint for the Washington area from its home port, Liverpool, Nova Scotia, and the operation of unloading the giant holds commands the visitors' attention. As neighbors in the community, the military is understandably interested in Alexandria's role as a port of call for foreign shipping. This interest is not restricted to transportation personnel who find counterparts to their own work in the activities around them. Engineers from Fort Belvoir are even more vitally involved. Plans are now underway to revive and expand the city's former importance in overseas commerce. One phase of the plan calls for dredging and deepening the harbor to accommodate ships of greater draft. When this operation is undertaken, Army engineers and city interests will be found working in even closer cooperation. Largest manufacturer in this country of refrigerator cars is the organization known as Fruit Growers. Company representatives play host. Mutual problems of food processing and shipping are explored. The interested guests are from the important Quartermaster Corps installation, Cameron Station. Army sanitation officers are guests of the Sanitation Authority in its newly installed plant, part of a project to end pollution of the Potomac River. Alexandria's Traffic Control Center sees one of the most successful of the counterpart programs, for it brings together men whose work is constantly before the eyes of a concerned public. Their work is measurable in terms of lives and limbs in an area that can be an irritant between these good neighbors. All ranks in both military and civilian groups welcome the informal discussions, for their work frequently overlaps. City police are well aware of the Army's effective aid in cutting down traffic fatalities. The city's traffic director and his counterpart from Fort Belvoir look to continued cooperation for safety on street and highway. The housing problem is one that Alexandria has shared with most American communities since World War II. With the cooperation of the military, the community has met that challenge. Both the residents and Salute to the Army Week visitors take pride in Temple Village, which houses the families of many locally stationed servicemen. Most Americans are aware of the eyesores presented by housing projects that have mushroomed up unplanned. Temple Village had a more foresighted development, and within its own precincts, there is a management committee which sees that rules for care and maintenance are rigidly observed. Temple Village is a community of families where serviceman and civilian live together as understanding neighbors. The city's small fry add their bit to saluting the Army and get a thrill themselves when the first ball is thrown out by Colonel David L. Edwards, Chief of Staff, Military District of Washington. The distaff side is not forgotten, and a luncheon of the Women's Division is to hear a talk by WAC Major Violet M. Burkhardt. It also honors guest Betty Carey. Mrs. Carey has been selected by the magazine U.S. Lady as Lady of the Month. The wife of an Army Master Sergeant, she is herself employed in the Pentagon. Nevertheless, Mrs. Carey has found time to raise her own family an adopted war orphan, and to arrange for the adoption of other unfortunate waifs. In honoring her, the Women's Division honors the embodiment of American womanhood in a member of the military community. Since Salute to the Army Week was planned to include National Flag Day, the Elks Club observes the occasion by presenting the colors to the Chamber's President, Duncan. The flag is one which has flown over the nation's capital. A landmark of the area is the 333-foot-high replica of the ancient lighthouse of Alexandria, Egypt. This is the well-known Masonic memorial to George Washington. In friendly return for an earlier concert by a civic music society, the United States Army Band and its choral group performed. And what more appropriate setting than this commanding site chosen by his brother Masons to honor our first president? Here at the Old Dominion Boat Club, there is opportunity to take note of the lighter side of the week's activities. Today's event is the Gunston Cove Sailing Regatta. It's an annual event that takes on greater importance for Alexandrians this year. Sponsored by the Potomac River Sailing Association, the race starts at the Old Dominion Boat Club in Alexandria and moves downriver to a point just below Fort Belvoir Boat Club. The race is open to both military and civilian, and it's a kind of aquatic free-for-all, inasmuch as craft of all sizes and classes are eligible. Handicaps are established by timing the starts, but that's all. Because there are no limitations, entries frequently total as many as 100 contestants. It's fun for all, and the winner may easily turn out to be a homemade 15-footer. Traditionally, the winner of the regatta is presented with the Belvoir Cup by a high-ranking member of the Army. This year, it is Colonel Ray Adams, Fort Belvoir's Chief of Staff, who awards the trophy. Besides sporting events, Alexandria offers a program of top-notch entertainment. Choral groups and a barber shop, or should we say a hairdresser's shop quartet, provide an ear treat for guests and fellow citizens. There's a full bill of carefully rehearsed variety acts on the stage of a local school auditorium. An impressive array of special talents is put on for this gala evening, and the boasted products of Alexandria's dramatic and dance schools all combine to produce an evening of fun. The lighter side of such a week must include a chance for pretty girls to show off their best gowns. The Servicemen's Lounge provided by the city for its soldier neighbors is the logical scene for such an occasion. To cap the evening's fun, there is the crowning of Miss Alexandria Salutes the Army. The week's program chairman, Bob Mitchell, does the honors for a happy Mrs. John Rose of Cameron Station. A past commanding general of Fort Belvoir is appropriately honored with the dedication of a new armory named for him. The occasion is also marked by the very first public display of the new United States Army flag, the same flag which now stands in the White House. The new armory is a symbol of the close interrelationship between hosts and guests. The building, a former warehouse, long unused and fallen into neglect, had become an eyesore to the community. The Army took over the scarred shell and rebuilt it. Alexandrians look with pride on their newly dedicated First Street Armory. Later in the week, another reserve installation will be put into active operation, and feelings of dedication as well as pride will attend its opening. Named for Colonel John Singleton Mosby, it will honor the daring Virginia cavalrymen who served with distinction in the war between the states. The A.C. Lieber Training Center is formally dedicated by Major General C. Rodney Smith, who stresses the ties that have traditionally bound the Army and its host city. It is worth noting in this connection that almost all of the Chamber of Commerce directors, as well as the civic leaders directing the Salute to the Army Week celebration, are themselves members or former members of local reserve units. Once again, the lighter note is struck when a pretty little miss, a drum majorette from a local high school, is adopted by the training center as Miss Engineer Reservist. Earlier in the week, this young lady had fascinated audiences with her exhibitions of baton twirling. An additional bit of color is given to the ceremonies by the appearance of the Mount Vernon Guards Fife and Drum Corps. Sponsored by the Civitans, these future reservists add an appropriate note of pageantry. The Army puts on an exhibition of its own when a crack ceremonial team of the 3rd Infantry Regiment from Fort Myer executes some smart drilling in Old Market Square. It was here that George Washington first drilled his own troops. Our earliest commanding general would have been quite as impressed as this generation of Alexandrians, for the men from Fort Myer are executing their movements without benefit of spoken commands. But the Army is about to put on an even more impressive exhibition and provides Army-style taxi service to the scene of the big show. It's to be an engineer demonstration at Fort Belvoir. Grandstands have been erected to accommodate the expectant Alexandrians. They will now see Uncle Sam's combat engineers in action. With simulated nuclear explosives, it's a preview of what may come one day. Best reason in the world for keeping our defenses strong. Today's demonstration is an assault river crossing in which combat techniques, equipment, and unit organization are adapted to a modern concept for battle in an atomic war. To get those first troops over, there's covering fire from the near shore. Amphibians can start on their job while that first wave takes care of enemy defenses. Helicopters carry over additional troops and materiel, despite enemy efforts to knock them down. For later study and evaluation, cameras cover the action. Helicopters have another role to perform. From rear areas, they bring up the pontons and wide variety of craft needed to secure our foothold. Retrieving is a ticklish job, with an aggressive enemy waiting to take advantage of the floating targets. Combat engineers live up to their reputation. Now, as opposition stiffens, they must operate under heavier gunfire. Tricky currents in the rapidly moving stream make their task an even tougher job to accomplish. Engineers know that the immediate objective of any river operation is to get assault units across quickly and economically, and to establish a bridgehead which will protect the crossing of the remainder of the command. Our attacking forces can depend upon these Army engineers to provide the means for that crossing. New units quickly work on assembling the latest craft dropped by the helicopters. These will carry heavy rolling equipment to the far shore. Enemy batteries aren't ready yet to call it quits. And there's a direct hit. But the attack is on schedule, and the heavy stuff starts moving over. Among the spectators are interested observers from friendly nations. The assault is a success, and a footbridge now spans the current. The far shore is ours. Alexandria's citizens have seen an exhibition they're going to remember a long, long time. They'll remember, and they'll take pride in their close association with our Army. A banquet at the George Mason Hotel marks the formal closing of this week of friendly tribute to the Army. Mayor Bendheim presiding introduced the guest of honor and speaker for the occasion, the Honorable Mr. Hugh M. Milton, Assistant Secretary of the Army and himself an Alexandria. Concluding a speech that traced his home city's historic ties with the military, Mr. Milton reminded his audience that this particular day marked the 182nd anniversary of the establishment of America's oldest fighting force. Then, in words that merit quotation, he pointed out that for Americans there is a common effort that unites soldier and civilian. Said Mr. Milton, like Alexandria, your Army is preserving the traditions of the past and keeping itself in constant state of readiness to ensure that the American heritage shall be passed on to our children and our children's children.
Alexandria's gesture in saluting the United States Army with a week devoted to expressions of friendly cooperation is a milestone in civilian-military relationships. Even more important, however, is the spirit behind it. This is a spirit that can be duplicated throughout the country, happily for us, wherever the civilian lives in close contact with the citizen-turned-soldier. Now, this is Sergeant Stuart Queen, inviting you to be with us again next week for another look at your Army in action on The Big Picture.
The Big Picture is an official television report for the armed forces and the American people. Produced by the Army Pictorial Center. Presented by the United States Army in cooperation with this station.